Hello everyone, today we're learning mציעא Daf Yudaled. We're going to start about 10 lines down Daf Yudaled Amud Aleph. Omar Shmuel, my time of the Ravonon, Savri, Achrayis Toy Soifahu. So we had in the Mishnah, Machloikis between Rameh and Rabbanon. What's the din if you find a document that says that Reuven owes Shimon £100? Who do you give it back to? So Rabbanon say in the Mishnah, that doesn't matter if there is a achrayis or there's no achrayis. If it says in the shtar that if Reuven doesn't have money to pay back Shimon, Shimon could go and claim from the fields, from the property that Reuven sold since the loan started. Or if it doesn't matter if it says that guarantee in the shtar, it doesn't matter if it doesn't say it. Whatever happens, you should never give it back, because whatever happens, Shimon, if you give it back to Shimon, he could claim it from the lekuchas, from the people who bought some property off Reuven. And the reason is why, even though that there's no guarantee in the shtar, says Shmuel, the reason is because achrayis to soifa, meaning that this achrayis, this guarantee, if you didn't write it in the shtar, it's a mistake of the soifa. The soifa forgot to write it in, because every loan that has a shtar naturally also has a guarantee in it. And if it didn't have it in, it was just a mistake. The soifa forgot to write it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have it. So even if it doesn't say it inside, you could be goyver from lekuchos. So memele, you shouldn't give it back to Shimon. Oh, it's talking about where the Reuven's moide or no moide. We saw that early on in yesterday's shir. Says the Gemara, did Shmuel say such a thing? Shmuel said, the Chura doesn't fit in, because Shmuel said that when a soifa writes a shtar, he has to ask them if you should write in, if they take away, when someone's doing, the Gemara understands over here that it's talking about alva, and you have to ask, is he willing to accept on himself to pay back from his best of his fields and even what he invested into the field, meaning what if that's something that he put into the field. Let's say Reuven selling Shimon a field, so the soifa asks Reuven, is he taking responsibility if they take away the field away from Shimon? Will he pay from his best of his fields? Will he pay what Shimon invested in the field? And if the Meshubad, could Shimon come and claim from the Chosim Meshubadim? So we could see that Shibud, you have to ask, the Soifa asks, are you mikabel on yourself, or you not mikabel on yourself this guarantee? And here we're saying that Shmuel says that Rabbanon hold that even if you don't write it, it means that it's written in, that it's a fixed thing, that every time there is a Shibud. So it doesn't make sense. Let's say there's two shittas in Shmuel, because they don't fit in together. So the Gemara loy kasha. Kan b'shtar vo de loy inish zuzi bichti. Kan b'mekach umemka de obid inish de zobin Aryeh yoyma. The Gemara says a difference. That the case over there where Shmuel said that you have to ask, the soifa needs to ask to make sure if he's mekabel on himself, achrayis, shibud nechosim. That's talking about when Reuven selling Shimon in the field. So maybe in such a case, Shimon gets a field. It's totally his field. Now, if someone that Reuven owes money to comes and takes away from Shimon, now he takes away from Shimon a day later, or a month later, or a year later. But for meanwhile, Shimon had the field. Therefore, it could be Shimon's being willing to buy the field, even though that he might lose it without a shirbud. Masha'en Kain, when Reuven's borrowing money from Shimon, Shimon won't be willing to give the money without a proper guarantee that if Reuven doesn't have money, he could take from the fields that he sold. So in a case of alva, of a loan, that he's doing him a favor, even if it doesn't say a guarantee, it's as if there's a guarantee inside. Reuven sells a field to Shimon, then you have to ask Reuven, is he mikabel on himself, shibud nechosim or not? Says the Gemara, Ke'ahi davur bar'i, zovin alisa me'achse, Osa Baal Choiv Tarfa Minei, Osa Lekamedim Arshmur, Omale Kosvala Chachrais, Omale Loi, Omale Ken, Im Ken Zile Shalma. So the Gemara brings a raya from a story that the father Bar-Ii bought a field, the attic from his sister, and then his sister owed someone money, so that guy came and took away the attic from Avur of Bar-Ii, and he came in front of Shmuel, and Shmuel asked him, did you write Achrayas in the shtar when he bought the attic? He told him no. So he told him, okay, so have a good day, you lost the attic. So Amalei, so the father Bari told Shmuel, "V'hamaru domar chayes toisofo." You yourself said that even if there's no guarantee, a guarantee is a mistake. If there's no guarantee, it's as if there is a guarantee, and therefore I should be able to take from a shabodim. So Amalei Shmuel told the father Bari, "Ani mili b'shtar avav b'shtar mekachomem kaloi Davidinish dezavin Aryeh Yoma." This gufa, this chiluk, Shmuel told him, no, it depends. If it's alvo, even if there's no guarantees, as if there is a guarantee. But when someone buys a land, and if there's no guarantee, there's no guarantee, only if it's written, mefurish in the shtar. Because a person buys a field, and even if he might have it only for one day, he's willing to take the risk. But by a loan, he won't give money if he doesn't have a guarantee. Omar Abaye. Reuven shemocha soda l'shimin b'achrais, ubo ba'al choiv de Reuven v'kotorif leiminei. Dine u do'ozel Reuven u'mishtoy dine ba'adei v'lo yimotzi omar le'ila ba'al dvorin didiyat. Omar le'i de mafkas minei alai didi Yehoda. So Abaye says such a chiddush. Reuven sold the field to Shimon b'achrais, meaning that if someone takes away the field from Shimon because Reuven owes the money, so Shimon can come back to Reuven and get his money back. Now, the Baal Choiv, the person who Reuven owes money to, goes to Shimon and wants to take the field away from him because Reuven didn't pay. So says Abaye, Reuven could come to that Baal Choiv, let's call him Levi, and say, no, I paid you back, or I'll pay you soon, or he could negotiate with him, and he's considered a Baal Din, he's considered a party in this court case. And he can't tell him, this Levi can't tell Reuven, it's none of your business, I'm taking this field from Shimon. Says Abaye, no. He is involved. Why? Because Reuven's going to tell Levi, listen, Shimon bought this by Aryeh, so if you're going to take it from Shimon, Shimon's going to come back to me. So I'm a party in this court case, and I could tie it to you. Even if when Reuven sold the field to Shimon, there was no Aryeh, meaning if someone takes away the field from Shimon, Shimon can't come back to Reuven and say he wants his money back. When Levi is coming to take the field from Shimon, Reuven can come to Levi and stop him and taina against him, and he's considered a Baal Din. Or Lechora, if Levi, it's a din between Levi and Shimon, it's nothing to do with Reuven. Once Levi takes it from Shimon, Shimon can't go back to Reuven because it's Shaloi B'Achrayis. Even in such a case, he's considered a Baal Din because Reuven Tain is, listen, if you take away the field from Shimon, very well, I don't need to pay him anything because there's no Achrayis, but he'll be very upset with me that I sold him a field and afterward they took it away from him. So therefore, I'm considered a Baal Din and I could taina Reuven against Levi the Baal Choiv. Said the Gemara, V'omar Abaye, Reuven shemocha soda l'Shimon sheloi b'Achrayis, v'yotzu alei asikin, ad shelo yichzik bo yochel lachzor boi. Mishichzik bo einu yochel lachzor boi. The omar lei chayso the katri sovras v'kibbelt. Mei mosaya v'chazoka michidai shamitzri. V'ike the omar afilu b'Achrayis nami, the omar lei ach v'tarfroch v'shalem loch. So we're going to go in this sugya lefi toisves, fits in easier to my understanding. So Abaye says Reuven sold Shimon a field without a Achrayis. If they take away from Shimon, it will become, Reuven won't need to pay. And now Yotzu alei asikim, and Rashi and Tosfos explains lefi the Rivo that they did a full kinyan. Shimon did a kinyan chalipin on this karka, but he never paid for the karka yet. And now Yotzu alei asikim, people before he moved into the field, people come and say, let's say Levi come and says, no, it's my field, it's not even Reuven's field, Reuven owes it to me, etc., etc. So Abaye says, if Shimon didn't do a chazaka, like we're going to see in a second what the chazaka is, Shimon could be choizer boy, even though they did a full kinyan chalipin, since he didn't give the money yet, he could say, I don't want this sale. And this chazaka is not normal chazaka that's coin in the field, that's a raya that the field's yours, or a karka niknes bechazaka. It's a type of chazaka that shows that you're happy with the field after you did the kinyan. But if he did a chazaka, that we're going to see in a second what the chazaka is, that's it, he can't change his mind. Because Reuven tells Shimon, sorry, you did the chazaka, you did the kinyan chalipin, I know you didn't pay me yet, but it was nikna to you already. Chaysa the katri, savras v'kiblas, it's like you accepted of me a sack full of knots. There's nothing inside, just full of knots. It looks like it's a full sack. You bought it off me without knowing what's inside. It's your fault. You took your shaloi b'achrais. It's your loss. You did the kinyan. You did the chazaka too late. Says the Gemara, when is the chazaka? This chazaka over here. Says the Gemara, when he walked on the field and he checked it out. So it's not a chazaka of locking it or going into the field. It's a chazaka of just checking out that he went on the borders of the field. So lefi the shita that we just said in Abaye, that's only shaloi b'achrayis because he never took responsibility on the sale. But if it was with achrayis, Shimon could say, I don't want this. People are saying this is not your field. I don't want this sale. I'm keeping the money. Take the field back. The ikadar and lefi the second shita, even if Reuven sold Shimon b'achrayis, where Shimon could come back to Reuven if they take it away, and now people are saying it's Reuven's, it's not Reuven's, and they say it belongs to me. Shimon could not be choizer after he did the chazaka that he walked on the borders of the field. He can't be choizer boy. Because Reuven tells Shimon, listen, people are talking that the field's not mine. Okay, people talk all the time. When you show me the Bezdin literally kicked you out this field, come back to me and I'll pay you. Until then, I don't know what these people are talking about. You did chalipin, you did chazaka, bye-bye, take the field, and pay me my money. And if they take it away from you, I'll give you your money back. But until that day doesn't happen, leave me alone and I want my money for this field. Itmar, we learned, Rava Omar yesh lo mois veyesh lo shvach, v'Shmuel Omar mois yesh lo shvach en moi. So Reuven sold Shimon a field, and we find out afterward that this field that Reuven sold Shimon was a stolen field, never belonged to Reuven. So the Machlokes Rav says Shimon gets back the money he paid for the field, and also, so let's say he paid £1,000 for this field, and he invested another £100, that's a shvach, into the field to make it better, to put a water system inside. So Rav holds he go back to Reuven and say, I want my £1,000 back, and I want my £100 back that I invested in the field, and Reuven needs to pay. And Shmuel holds no, he gets back from the Ganev who stole this field and sold the field, the £1,000 that he paid him for a field that doesn't belong to him. But what he invested in the field, he doesn't get back. That he doesn't get back from Reuven, and I'm going to see in a second why. Said Bor mi nemi Ravuna, Pirish lo yisashvach mau. Tame de Shmuel mushum de loy pirish vacha vacha pirish loy. Pirish loy dim, tame de Shmuel kevin de lesle karka michze kerubis. Says the Gemara Shaila. They asked the Shaila from Ravuna, what's the din? Lefi Shmuel that you can't take the extra money they invested into the field and you can't get it back from the Gazlan. Is that in a normal case? But in a case where clearly when Shimon bought off the field of Reuven, he said, listen, if I invest in the field and they take it away from me, you're going to pay me? In such a case, Shmuel will agree that Reuven's going to need to pay because it's clearly they did a clear agreement. Or maybe no, maybe the whole reason is because since the sale never really happened, when Shimon bought off Reuven, really there was no sale. The field didn't belong to Reuven. So really, it's like Shimon lent to Reuven £1,000. And then he put in money, and now if Reuven's going to get back now £1,100, it looks like ribis. It looks like he gave £1,000, he got £1,100 back. So even if you made a clear agreement to be able to be goyver the shvach, you won't be able to be goyver the shvach because it's michzei ribis. So what's pshat in Shmuel? Omar Lei, so Ravuna said in the Lav Rafi Biyode, he said at the beginning, yes, if you wrote it clearly, he does get it. Then he said, no, it wasn't clear what the din. He didn't know how to answer the shaila. So says the Gemara, Itmar Omar of Nachman Omar Shmuel, Rav Nachman said the name of Shmuel, Mois yesh lo shvach ein loi, af al pi shepirish lo is shvach, my time keven the karka en lo schar moisov oimed v'noitel. Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel clearly that even if he said clearly in the sale, when Shimon bought off Reuben, that if the agreement was that Shimon will invest in the field, and they take away from him, he'll get back not only the field, also what he invested. Afilu, in such a case, he won't get back the extra money they invested. Why not? Because it looks like ribis. And that's the reason why he doesn't get it. Eisi v'Rav Nachman, Rav asked the kasher of Nachman, Ein moitzim la'achilas peres l'shvach karkrois l'muizin ha'isha v'abonos min chosim m'shubodim mipnei tikun ha'olam mishabdi u'deloi mafkinan o mibnei chor mafkinan v'ktoni mi'az l'shvach karkrois my lab loikech mi gazlin. So Rav asked Rav Nachman, it says a brisa that for eating pears, soon we're going to see what that means. Uleshvach karkois, that's what we are talking about, where someone bought a field and he invested into it. Ulmother neisha v'abonos, was someone's responsible to pay food for his wife and his daughters. So all these things you can't claim from Mishubodim. You can't claim from people who the person who owes the money sold the fields to. So let's say a man owes his wife to pay her food, and now she doesn't have he doesn't have what to pay her. So the woman can't go to the person who the husband sold the field to in the past and say, I'm taking the field away, my husband owes it to me. And all these cases that we said, why not? Because these are fixed things that always everyone have these responsibilities. And if you're able to take away from Mishubodim, no one's going to want to buy fields, because then they say, oh, you have to pay your wife food, maybe you won't have money to pay her, then they're going to take the field off me, I don't want this. So therefore, you can't take from Mishubodim. So Rav is Medaik, from Mishubodim you can't take. That means from field that the loive sold on. But from Necharim, from the loive itself, you could take. And one of the things that it says over here, Shvach Karkois. And what are we talking about? Someone who bought it off a Gazlin, and he put in investment, and it says he can't take this extra investment that he put in from the Mishubodim of the Gazlin. But from the Gazlin himself, he could take. It's a kash on Shmuel. Shmuel said it looks like ribis. Here it says that Shvach Karkois you could take. So he answered, Lo, Bal Choiv. No, we hear this price is talking about Bal Choiv. That Reuven didn't sell to Shimon a field that was stolen. It's talking about that Reuven sold a field that belongs to him to Shimon, and then the Bal Choiv of Reuven took away this field, and meanwhile Shimon invested in this field. Then Shimon could go to Reuven and take the shvach from him himself. And it's not mechzik ribis, because there was a transaction when Shimon bought the field. He actually bought the field. That was one transaction, and now he's paying him more for what he lost. It's not like from Olekeh from Gazan that the first transaction was nothing. That therefore it looks like ribis. Says the Gemara, Ibi Bal Choiv, or Rava continues, Ibi Bal Choiv, Ein Mereisha, Ein Moitzim Lachilas Peros. In the same brisa, it says that you don't take from Mishubodim Fachilas Peros. If we're talking about the Bal Choiv, that means Reuven sold a field to Shimon, and then Levi, the Bal Choiv of Reuven, took away the field for Shimon, and now Shimon wants his Paris back. That means the Paris that grew in this field. If we talk Bal Choiv mi'isle Peri, can Levi, the Bal Choiv of Reuven, take away the field and the Paris? He can't take the Paris. We know that Shmuel says that if Reuven sells a field to Shimon, and Shimon invested in the field, so now Levi wants to take away the field because Reuven owes him money. He could take the field, he could take what was invested in it, but he can't take the fruit that grew in the field. The fruit belongs to Shimon. So it can't be talking about the fruit. The fruit Levi can't even take. So it can't be that Shimon wants to come back to Reuven for the fruit that was taken from him, because he don't take away the fruit from him. Elop shita v'goyze v'nigzal. When it says Achilas Peres, it must be talking about Goyze v'nigzal, that Shimon bought a stolen field of Shimon. Shimon bought a stolen field of Reuven, and Peres grew in it. And now the Nigzal, the one who got stolen off in the field, comes to Shimon and says, this is my field, and my field, my trees grew fruit, I'm taking everything back and the fruit. And now Shimon's coming back to Reuven. Since the case of Achilas Peres is Tumba Goizel V'Nigzal, Sefer Nami Begoizel V'Nigzal must L'chora. Also the case of Shvach Karkois is also the same case where Reuven sold a stolen field to Shimon. So you can't say it's Tumba B'Bal Choiv. So L'chora it's a cash on what Rav Nachman said in the name of Shmuel that looks like Ribis. Says the Gemara, no, Midi Iriya HaKadisa V'HaKadisa, no. One case of the Brisa that says about Achilas Peres, it's talking about the Gazlin. And the case of Shvach Karkois is talking about Baal Choiv. And therefore, Baal Choiv, you don't have a kasha from Shvach Karkois. Sorry, the case of Achilas Peres is talking about Gazlin. And the case of Shvach is talking about a Baal Choiv, and by Baal Choiv, there's no kasha about Ribis. Says the Gemara, he doesn't say like this in the Brisa because it says the Shvach Karkois case. What's the case of Shvach Karkois? Are we talking about Aryeh goes also the Mechaveroi, Reuven stole the field of Levi, and now we're taking away the field from Reuven. When he claims, and we can ask in a second, what do you mean he claims? He stole a field, we took it off him, who is he claiming from? Goive Sakara in the capital, Menechosim Mishubodim. V'shvach, and what he invested in the field, milchosim lecher. Said the Gemara, Echidomi, ileme kediktoni, literally like we explained, Gazlin miman govi. The Gazlin, we take away his field, can he claim from anyone? He stole a field, we took it away from him. Elolavi must be too much, Goza Sodom Mechaver Reuven stole a field from Levi. Umracholachar, and he sold it to Shimon. V'ishbicha, and Shimon made it better, invested it in a water system. And it says in the Brisa that when we take away the field of Shimon because it really belongs to Levi, that Shimon could come to Reuven and get the shvach from Nechosim Necharim. So you could see there's no problem of Ribis, not like Shmuel said before. Omalei, lav tirutzikum etaretz. Didn't you just explain this Brisa? The Pashtus Saloshon of the Brisa is mashma that the Gazlin is Goiva. And we asked, the Kasha makes no sense. Who's the Gazlin Goiva from? He's a Gazlin. So he said the whole teretz, it means that the Gazlin sold it on. If you're anyway explaining it's Nami Bebal Choiv, say that it's not Tumba Reuven stole a field and sold it to Shimon. Tumba Reuven borrowed money of Levi and sold his field to Shimon, and now Levi is taking the field away from Shimon. Now when Shimon's taking the field, he takes a shvach from Reuven, from Nechosim Necharim, and then we don't have a kasha of Ribis, because by Baal Choiv we said he could take the shvach. Only by Gazlin Shmuel said he can't take the shvach, so therefore you have no kasha from this Brisa. Says the Gemara Toshma, another kasha on Shmuel. They hold that's like Ribis. It says, L'Achilas Peres Ketzad, what's the case in the Brisa of Achilas Peres? Aryeh goes Sodom Chaver, Reuven stole a field of Levi, Aryeh Yitzis Mitachas Yodoi, and now we take it away from him, Kushu Goiva, when he claims, and again we're going to ask in a second, why is he claiming? Goivin and a Keren, the capital Menechosim Mishubodim, Uperis, and what grew in the field, Goivin Menechosim Menecharim, from property that was not sold yet. Eichidomi, what's the case? Literally that the Gazlin stole it, and then the Migzal took it away. Selichura, Gazlin my Govi, who is the Gazlin being Toivea? You stole it, they took it away from you, obviously. Who are you claiming from? Elolav must be Tuma Kigon Shikoza Sodom Chaver Mocholacher. Reuven stole a field from Levi and he sold it to Shimon. Vishbicho, and he made it better. And now there's fruit in it. And now Levi comes to Shimon and says, this is my field that was stolen off me. I want it back with the Paris because it's my field that produces Paris. And now Shimon comes to Reuven and says, I want my karka back that I bought off you. And Reuven has to pay Shimon even from Nechosim Mishubodim, even from Nechosim that Reuven sold. And the Paris he could only take from Reuven himself. There's a problem of it looks like Ribis because Shimon gave £1,000 for this field. And the transaction wasn't really anything because it was a stolen field. And now he's taking back not only the £1,000, he's taking also the £100 worth of Paris. Why is it not like Ribis? And here we're talking about the Brisa. Reuven stole a field of Levi. Milei Paris, full of fruit. The trees were full of avocados. And Reuven ate all these fruit. The Chafa Borisichin Morris, and he ruined the field. He dug tunnels like the Hamas. So now Levi wants his field back. But he can't, his field's not worth anything. And the fruit's also not there anymore. So Bonig Zalig voice Karen to take back the worth of the field that was ruined from him. He could take from the Ganevs, from what the Ganev sold. Bolig Zalig voice Paris, when it's coming to claim the fruit that he had in the field, he could only claim from what Reuven has, not from what Reuven sold. And therefore it's nothing to do, it's a whole new case, it's nothing to do with selling the field, and we can't see that if you sold the field that the guy who bought the field could get back the pairs, and there's no cash on Shmuel. Rabba bar of Huna Omar Nuk Teretz, going to Masikin, Reuven stole it off Levi, and because of Reuven, Ganovim took it away from him. Let's say the Ganovim came to Reuven and so told him, show us a field, we want to steal a field, and he showed them this field that he stole, and they took it away from him. And the din is, Rashi says, from Pobekama, Daf Kuftis, Zaino and Beis, Anosim, Akum Notlu Unagazim Achmosoi. The din is, if it's because of the Gazlan, he has to pay a new field. So again, Reuven stole a Shimon of Levi, and now Ganovim, because of Reuven stole this field away from him, and now it's by these Masikin. So now Bonig, so it comes Levi, Ligvois Karen to take the capital, the field value that Reuven stole off him, he could even take from Nechosim Shubodim of Reuven, stuff that he sold. Bonig Ligvois Paris, for the fruit, for all the avocados that were on the trees are ready to take off the trees. He could only take from the Nechosim Nechorim of Reuven. And again, it's a different case, similar case, but different case of Rava. And it's again nothing to do with someone who sold the field. It's only talking about a Ganev. And normally the Nigzal could come and take back the field, but it's talking about where the Nigzal can't take back the field, or because he ruined the field, or because it was stolen off the Ganev. Says the Gemara, Rava lo yomar Rabba bar Avuna. Rava didn't like the teretz of Rabba bar Avuna that's so much in the Klum Asikim, because it says Aryeh yotzis mitachas yodoi. Because in the Brisa it says Aryeh shegod al sodom mechaver v'Aryeh yotzis mitachas yodoi. Of the Gazlan, it's mashma bedina mashma. It's mashma that was taken away from Bezdin. And if he Rabba bar Avuna, when it says the yotzis mitachas yodoi, it means a masikin Ganovim took it away from him. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit in. Bishleim if you Rava yotzis mitachas yodoi means now Bezdin are coming to take away from the Gazlan, so it makes sense that loshen. But if what it means yotzim mitachas yodoi means the masikin took it, it doesn't fit in with the loshen. Yotzim mitachas yodoi is mashma Bezdin. Rabba bar Avuna lo yomar Rava. Why didn't he say like Rava? Aryeh yotzis mitachas yodoi beine mashma. When it says Aryeh yotzis mitachas yodoi, it's mashma as is. So bishleim lefi Rabba bar Avuna, as is, the masikin took the field as is away from the Gazan, and that means the yotzim mitachas yodoi as is. But if you Rabba, that means that Bezdin are coming to take money, because you can't take away the field back and give it back to the Nigzal because it's ruined. Doesn't make sense. A loshen yotzis mitachas yodoi, because that's a loshen as is. It's not as is. The field's not as is. The field's ruined. You have to pay money instead, and that's why Rabba bar Avuna didn't explain like Rava. Now Rashi is going to come and say a new teretz, and he's going to fit in with both lashonis. It's also mashma be'ina and also mashma bedina. Rav Asher Omar at Stodik Toni, Kigoin Chigol Sodom Mechaver Reuven stole a Shimon of Levi, Malay Paris full of avocados, Vochalas a Paris, and he ate all these avocados, Umochalas a Sode. And he sold this field to Shimon. Now, Boloi Keach Ligbois, so now, Boloi Keach Ligbois Kere, and so now Levi comes and he wants back his field and the Paris, so the field he goes to Shimon and takes back the field from him, but the Paris, he needs to go to the Gazlan. So Boloi Keach Ligbois Kere, and Shimon, who got his field taken away because it was a stolen field, he could take from the Nechosim Shubodim of the Gazlan because it's a Keren and there's no problem of ribis. He gave £1,000, he gets back £1,000 for the sale that didn't exist. But if we're not talking about that Shimon's coming to take the Paris, the Nigza Levi wants his avocados back. Very good, I got back the field back, but there was also avocados. And he can't go to Shimon because avocados Reuven ate. So he goes to Reuven, but he's only going to Nechosim Nechorim, he could only take from the fields that are free of Reuven know what he sold, and therefore there's no kasha on Shmuel because it's not Toma that the koina could be goiva any Paris. And also the fear of Ashi, he answered both. The Brisa fits in very well. That when it says kushuyoyte mitachas yodo, it means also bedina. When Bezdin take away from Shimon who bought the field to Levi, that's bedina. And also be'ena, because the field as is. No one ruined anything in the field, and therefore it fits in very good. The only thing that doesn't really fit in a chara, that it's stodim, that's not clear that two people are claiming. The loikech is claiming one thing, and the nigzal is claiming something else. L'chara, maybe that's why Rabba and Rabba Ravuna didn't want to learn like Ravashi. Thank you very much. Everyone should be blessed. Yeshua Krova Lovai.